I think one of the keys to understanding the sound of the record, which really, to try and put adjectives to an album is really a fool's errand, but it has such a big sound to it. I think the key is knowing a bit about the gentleman who worked on it with you, Roy Thomas Baker. Tell me about how you came to be hooked up with him, because I think there were times where people tried to hook you guys up and it didn't quite work. So tell me that whole story.
Yeah, I think it was Billy's meeting with Jeff Greenberg that kind of started that ignited the fire between us and Roy. Jeff Greenberg is the CEO of a studio called The Village in Los Angeles, and I think you were doing some work there, right, Billy? And
I think I was in there doing some demos with Courtney Love for her record that still has never come out.
So yeah, I guess we have Courtney to thank. Though we should send her a little basket of flowers.
Or something,
right? So Roy came down. Billy had talked to Roy on the phone, and Billy came to me and said, I talked to Roy, and our kind of opinion of Roy is over the years we had kind of heard that he had kind of fallen off the map and kind of lost sight of what he was really into, and was a bit of a partier and a loose cannon, and kind of all the things that happen to you when you've achieved kind of Roy's status and you kind of disappear for a while. The world tends to formulate grandiose stories about your existence, whether they're true or not.
Wait, ironically, that's all the things they say about us.
I know about that firsthand, because certainly when I was out of the band, I had ended up in a lot of places that I wasn't. But anyway, so yeah, Roy, that's a whole nother segment. So Roy came down to meet with us. He brought his wife, Terry, and they came down to Scottsdale. And literally from the minute we met Roy, we fell in love with his personality, his energy, his vigor, his knowledge of music and sound. And just from the get-go, I think we found a real soulmate. Here's somebody who not only has a legacy that anybody could be proud of, that we're certainly impressed by, but somebody who looks at music and art kind of the same way we do, is kind of with this kind of childlike appreciation for it and this kind of anything goes mentality, and somebody who's gets naturally excited by sound. And within the first month of knowing Roy, literally, this is something that I say when people ask me, like, what was it like to work with Roy? I always say, well, Roy was always the first one there in the morning and the last one to leave every night, and literally wore us out with his energy. And nobody really knows how old Roy is, but he's certainly an elder statesman, and certainly older than us, but literally wore us out with his energy and his willingness to go the extra mile, and anything that was for the betterment of the song, he was willing to take entire days and just try things, which is something that can't be said for a lot of producers out there right now. When Billy and I started working on this record, we met with 5 or 6 producers who are considered to be at the top of their game in this kind of new musical arena, and literally didn't click with any of them, because I think what they're used to is going in and having bands do kind of hackneyed versions of songs and then assembling them later via Pro Tools. And when we did this record, we told Roy, we weren't interested in doing any digital editing. We just wanted to record straight to tape with no click tracks and no fixing it later, and kind of what you hear is what you get. So every performance on Zeitgeist is a live performance, no click track, no digital editing at all. And a lot of producers we told that to just kind of threw their hands up and really weren't interested in taking a year of their life and making an artistic statement when they can churn out 5 or 6 records a year via Pro Tools and have 5 or 6 more chances in making a huge pile of cash. So that in itself speaks volumes about Roy. Somebody who certainly could garner that type of income, but was really into it for the music all along. And I really can't say enough great things about what a great person he is and what a big part of the record he is.
Do you think part of his attitude could be, and I'm not trying to be a wise guy here, he's done such phenomenal records, the stuff with Queen, the stuff with the Cars. We could sit here for hours and talk about that. He must have made tons of money. Do you think it's just he has enough money that he can just go, you know what, screw the whole world, I just want to do it my way now?
To give you an idea, I think the first time we ever heard Roy complain about anything was the fact that he couldn't get a permit to put a helicopter pad at his house in Lake Havasu. And then I think the other time he was complaining about the time he had to sell his castle and the entire town that he owned somewhere in England. So that puts it into perspective a little bit.
It's the sort of funny thing. When you're in a group and a little hub world like we are, you have your own little catch sayings, and one catch saying we have is short money. Short money is like people want to make money right now, but they're not actually thinking of how to make money and how to be successful and how to be profitable and how to be emotionally profitable over the long haul. You know, it's like a winning baseball team versus a team that sort of goes for it the 1 year and then wipes out for 20, you know. The music business that we're in right now is all about short money. It's all about how can I take this thing in front of me, squeeze as much blood out of it as fast as humanly possible, and get on to the next thing. And there is sort of a weird thing that happens once you reach a certain age. You don't fall for that crap anymore. So they know they can't play that game with you. So you almost become sort of a difficulty. What's really interesting is, you know, maybe there's a reason we're still around, and maybe there's a reason that Roy made some of the greatest albums in the history of rock. Because you get to the top of the mountain by not thinking about short money. You get to be Led Zeppelin or The Cure or Joy Division by thinking about music. And it's the craziest thing, because anybody can step back. There's 50 years of rock history. You can see that the greatest artists and the greatest bands cared about music first and foremost, whether it was Jimi Hendrix or Miles Davis. And those artists continue to sell, and they continue to make money. So you would think somebody would step back and say, that's where the most money is it in the best musical artists. And yet here we are 50 years later, we're still having the same dumb argument about how do we squeeze the blood out of you. It's crazy. I called somebody at the record company when we were considering Roy, and the person said, who are you thinking of working with? And I said, Roy. And the person said, why would you want to work with that old has-been? The conversation immediately turned to, you should work with the guy who did Green Day, because Green Day was having their big comeback moment. Now, no disrespect to that particular producer. Don't know him at all. But the very intention of the conversation was not, is this the right person for you? It's, this is what we do to make hits 2007. You're a little out of touch. You know what I mean? Instead, we turned to the person that we respected most. And that's why we're here.
It's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
What's
so
up
fuck
next?
Fuck him. Politely, fuck him. It's satellite. Say whatever I want. Opie and Anthony swear, right? Fuck him.
What's up next?
Song about fucking. Backdoor Sally. Here we go.